Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Today's sponsor is Baruch Chaim Cassel for the 32nd yartzheit of my mother-in-law, of my father-in-law. Chas v'shalom, not my mother. Father-in-law, Moshe Aryeh ben Yaakov Dovid Kohain. Wow. Here's one of the best emails I ever received. Just in time. Dear Mrs. Stefansky, Rebelli, Amoish. This message is long overdue. It's a letter to my wife, basically. About a year and a half ago, I took my son Akiva to the English Sima Shas in Yerushalayim. Rebelli, you and Yeshua were there handing out flyers for MDY. And I thought, no way, that's crazy. Daf a day, you must be out of your mind. I'm just taking Akiva for a night of inspiration, not to actually join the Daf Yomi shir. By the end of the evening, Akiva was so inspired. The Dibur Torah, they're abundant to sing in the camaraderie. At the end of the evening, he said, Abba, I want to join the Daf Yomi. I thought to myself, he's only 10 years old, it's impossible. I'm an adult, learned in yeshiva, even learned in Koil for a year, cannot keep up with the Daf Yomi. He's only 10, no way. He remembers seeing you in Yeshua and told me he wanted to join MDY. How can I say no? He wanted to make a commitment to learning Torah. Well, if he's going to try it, then I, as his father, have to do the same. So you should know, Yeshua and myself, we had tickets, airline tickets to go to America to make a matzav at MetLife. And I told him at the last second, I felt bad. He was counting on it. He's going to bring back a lot of coffee. It was Gashmius. And I said, let's just stay here in Eretz because we have to be at Brachas Daf Beis here in Eretz when we start. If it was just to chop you two guys, the two of you, it was worth it. I had my doubts because I had attended Daf Yomi Shurim before him. The pace is too fast. It's hard to come out of this year with anything. Well, that was a year and a half ago. Mrs. Stefansky, Akiva connects with Reb Eli, and Reb Eli is a great role model for him. Your husband is a special balabas who is deeply committed to learning and teaching. What is more amazing that between the chevra who physically show up to the MDY and the chevra who attend the shir virtually through Zoom, YouTube, Torah, Anytime, etc., there are people of all learning levels and backgrounds, from ages 8 to 100, from all walks of life. 100, that I don't know about. We know 92. I do not know how he does it, but he connects with everyone in a way that we all benefit from his shir in different ways. There are very few Yidden on the planet. There are very few Yidden who can do what your husband does with so much simcha. This is a message of Akar Satoiv. 10% to Rebelli, 90% to you. Mrs. Stefansky, you're a silent part in all of this. You are the modest wife, she is, who supports her husband's crazy dreams like MDY. You should know that there are literally thousands of Yomi Shurim around the world, but not like this. No one can give over shit like your husband can. May you and Rebelli be blessed with many healthy, happy years in Eretz Yisrael. With much, get over here, Shimon. Shimon and Akiva, come here. We gotta show the Olam who you are. From all your children, grandchildren, Ad, Soif, Hadoyrus, thank you again for sharing Rebelli with us. Shimon Solway. Rabbi side, this is Shimon. Now, every morning when I walk here, I see Reb Shimon driving his son, but he doesn't just find the spot and then walk together with his son. He drops his son off in the front door, and then he drives all the way back down there to find the spot. Unbelievable commitment that your parents have, and when you're out of town, your wife does it. Yishkoyach, thank you. Akiva, we're going to finish Shas together, Akiva. All right. Shkoyach, Reb Shimon, beautiful email. Beautiful. If you recall from the beginning of Brachas, a lot of these emails started with this great guy. He called himself Bernie the Burn, and he had a couple of good shtuchs. Not to be disappointed today, he says like this. He's around. He learns the daf with us every single day. Now, Burning the Burn. I want to show you. This was the chart I had yesterday. Chatois, Hamesois, the 5 korban chatos that must die. You put them in a room, you let them die. Vlat chatos, muras chatos, mesu baleo, kipru baleo, over shnasa. Says Reberni Liebtag. This is the way to remember the 5 chatois Hamesois from Bereshis, Perek Lamed Vav, Parshas Vayishlach, Pasuk Yud Beis. It says, V'timna Vitimna. Vav, Taf, Mem. He says this is a problem. It's not Kipru, it should be Niskapru. All right, so that's his Ara, great Ara. During Shachas yesterday, somebody comes over to me. He says, I don't understand. You make such a boring chart. You should put a cow and a this and a that and a birthday. So everybody said we redid it based on these two Aras. It's not like whatever. I said, I don't have the time. I told the guy yesterday. This is the new and improved version. It has Niskapru. It's bold. Vitimna. Here's a Vlad Chatos, a baby Chatos, a Tmuras Chatos, Mesa Boleh. There's a shtickle funeral going on over here. I don't know if you could see. Niskapru Boleh, I wasn't sure how to do. I need to ask the artist. Shofar, Day of Atonement, I don't know. Yom Kippur. Over Shnasa, a birthday. It's more than a year old. It's a sheep with the birthday hat. Great. That's the new one. Shkoch for the Aris. Appreciate it, Bernie. And now we can move on. Oh, one more thing. Talking about shtachs. So here's a picture of Warren Carlos and Aaron Hirsch. I'm assuming they didn't know each other before the daf, through Zoom, whatever, and they met up in Lakewood. Who's Aaron Hirsch? We know Warren from here. He comes to the Beis Medrash a lot. Aaron Hirsch is somebody that went to Munkach, as I did back in the day. He has the schus. He might be the only person in all of the generations that scream out in the middle of a shir to the Magachir, and he called the Magachir Amaretz. He said Amaritz, and the Magachir actually enjoyed it. What happened was, I was in Borough Park, and he was there, and I said, is Kosher Delight still open? And he screamed out, Amaritz! You don't know about Kosher Delight. But I had the last laugh, I think. He haltzach a groise maven when it comes to food. And I told him there's a place called Cookie Corner in Lakewood, and he had no idea. He lives in Lakewood, he had no idea. And he had a lot of charata that he didn't know, and he's doing tshuva now. Baruch Hashem, he's visiting the place every single day to make up. So I'm not sure who the Amaritz is, but let's start. We're at Daf Nun Aleph, 50 daf into Yoma. Sad. Less than 40 days left to Yoma. Beautiful Masechta. Yesterday we were learning the difference between the original carbon. Somebody has a carbon original and decides to swap it out with a nicer carbon. It doesn't have to be nicer, it could be even less, but typically you swap out a carbon with a nicer carbon. The second carbon is called a tmura, not to be confused with truma, a tmura. Tmura is also d'oraisa, and the Gemara said yesterday, we brought a brisa, there's some chumras that the original animal has versus the tmura, and some, or one, that the tmura has. What are they? It goes like this. The original carbon could be a carbon yachid, could be a carbon tzibur. A tmura cannot be a tzibur. You cannot make a tmura to a carbon tzibur. If the whole community brings a carbon, you can't do tmura. You can't say, oh, I want to bring another one, an upgrade. A carbon, a regular carbon, pushes off Shabbos and Tumah. Should be Tumah here, but not enough room. Shabbos. Tmura cannot push off Shabbos. When you have to bring the second animal. You don't have a choice. This guy is on the Mizbeach, but not on Shabbos. And not when the Kohain Ratame. And finally, the original carbon can make Tmura. That's what we're talking about. You could say this should be instead of the original. But you can't say that a third carbon should be instead of the second carbon. That doesn't work. It stops. So yesterday we said, what animal are we talking about that has all of these three things? What carbon? If it's an individual carbon yachid, that doesn't work. Because where is it kavua zman? Where has it push off Shabbos? It has to. The Gemara gives us two options. It could only be either the power of the Kohen Gadol. And the Gemara said perhaps it's not the power of the Kohen Gadol. Maybe it's the aisle of Aaron, the ram of the Kohen Gadol. Those are the two options. So now we are holding 10 lines from the bottom. Daf Nun Amud Beis. Hachinam mistarba. I like your pshat that what contains these three chumras, which carbon contains all three? Eli Shel Aaron. It's a oila. It's a oila, and therefore, and it's a carbon yachid, so it's yachid, kitzibur has oila in it, pushes off Shabbos because it only comes on Yom Kippur, oisa tmura because it's considered a yachid. Now, Hachanam Istabra makes a lot of sense as a Gemara. The paroi, if it's option number one, that it's the cow, not the ram. Tmur the par b'Shabbos v'tuma hudeloy dachil. Think about it. Now, what is a tmura more chomer than a regular carbon? Only one thing. That no, forget that for a second. Tmura, we said, can't push off Shabbos. But could it push off Sunday, Monday? Yeah. In other words, you bring it on a Sunday and Monday. But it's impossible. We're talking about, where's that list? Pull out the list, the upgraded list. If it's the bull of the Kohain, what is it? It's a chatos. Look at the list. Where are we? Tmuras chatos. If it's the tmura of a chatos, we're talking about the bull of Aaron. And somebody took a tmura and somebody said, I have a bigger, better bull, it must die. You can't put it on the mizbeach, not even on a Sunday, not on a Monday. So why are you telling me this red? That the regular carbon can push off Shabbos, but the tmura cannot push off Shabbos. It can't push off anything. You never bring it on the mizbeach. Forget about Shabbos. You don't bring it on a Sunday or a Monday. Says the Gemara, therefore I don't like the bull. I like the ram, because the ram is not a chatos. The ram is a oila. And a oila you do bring on a Sunday and a Monday and a Tuesday. This halacha that you don't bring, these are the 5 chatois that die. But a oila that you do tomorrow doesn't die. Bring it on a Sunday. It's a tmura of a chatos. Tmuras chatos lemisas. That's one of the 5 things that must be put in a room to die. Says Gemara, loy paroi. No, we're talking about the bull. So you're asking me if it's a bull, why tell me it doesn't push off Shabbos? It seems like it could push off a Sunday. Umay tmura, shem tmura. You're right. This bull cannot push off a Sunday or a Monday. But in the category of tmura, let's talk about an ayla. Ayla could push off. You do bring it on a Sunday. This particular one, you're right. We're talking about the bull of the Kohen Gadol. And this particular Kohen Gadol bull, you never bring it because it's a chatos. But the name, the idea of a tmura, I find there's another case of tmura somewhere else called the ayla, or another carbon, a shlamim, that you do bring it as a carbon. Ask the Gemara the very obvious question. Ihachi zevach nami shem zevach. If you're talking about categories, not particular animals, so then why did the Gemara go through the trouble and say, oh, we're talking about one animal called the par of a Kohen Gadol, or one carbon called the ayal of the Kohen Gadol, contains all these 3. Just tell me, in the category of carbon, I can find all these 3. There's a guy that has an ayla, he's a yachid. There's a thing that goes, you bring it on Yom Kippur, a carbon, bring it on Yom Kippur, it's doicha Shabbos. I'll pick and choose from 3 different carbonas. We'll come up with all these 3 chumras. Why do you need to find one carbon that contains all these 3? Obviously, because you're not going in categories. You're being very specific. You're pointing to one individual carbon that contains all this. So then all of a sudden, when it comes to Tmura, you're saying, no, I'm very vague. In the idea, in the concept of Tmura, I find the idea somewhere by Ayla. I'm talking about a chatos. But somewhere else, in a different place called Ayla, I find, it's not fair. Says the Gemara, Shem Zevach Leikatani. And we're going to explain why. It seems not fair. Zevach not. Zevach has to be very specific. It's the par of the Kohen Gadol that contains all 3. When it comes to Tmura, it could be vague. Now, how do I know this? Why am I saying this? Why can I be very vague when it comes to the carbon? Because then Tmura, let's say this, Papa, Tmura won't have any advantage over a carbon. What's the advantage of Tmura? That if I say this animal should be instead of my original carbon, it becomes a Tmura no matter what. Even if it's missing a leg, let's say. Has a tremendous mum, I don't know, missing a leg. The air is cut, whatever, mum, big mum. It's chal, so much so, kedushas haguf, all the way through and through, that if I redeem it, I can't even shear its wool. It remains kaddish to a point. And that I don't find in a carbon. Not true. I do find it in a carbon. A b'char. A b'char becomes a carbon automatically, even if it has a mum. And it's so much so that it's kaddish kedushas haguf. And I cannot shear its wool, I can't redeem it even. So then all of a sudden I lose the advantage. If I'm going to be vague and say that it's all the karbanos in the world, there's two karbanos that I could think of, b'char and meiser, that have this advantage that a tmura has. So then tmura has zero advantage. So therefore, when it comes to carbon, I'm very specific. I point at a carbon. I don't just say, oh, all karbanos of the world, because then I'll find one. But when it comes to tmura, not. Says the Gemara, if you want to be vague and tell me the category of all karbanos, Daf Aleph or Ika b'char or meiser dechalin al bal mum kavua. When an animal is born, he's the firstborn. You don't have to make him kaddish. He comes out kaddish kedushas rechem. He comes as he comes out, he becomes kaddish no matter what. Kedushas haguf. And you can't even redeem it. The Kohain gets to eat it, and that's it. You can't shear its wool, it has kedusha. You can't work it. Ella shem zevach loikatani. So obviously we can't be vague when it comes to a carbon. We have to be very specific. There's one carbon, two carbonos called the par and the ayil. Depends how you hold. They have all three chumras. Umayshna. But now you're not being fair. When it comes to the carbon, you're very specific. When it comes to tmura, you're very vague. Why? You have to be consistent. Umayshna. Says Gemara, tmura shem tmura chasi. Because when it comes to the hilchas tmura, it never varies. A tmura can never be brought on Shabbos. Some of them can be brought on the weekday, but none of them can be brought on Shabbos. In other words, if you want to be more specific, where's that thing? Tmura never has any of these. Never has a tzibur, can never push off a Shabbos, and it can never make another tmura. And it has this over here, that it's chal and a balmum. So it has all four of these, very consistent. So Mela, I could be a little vague. Zevach, but a carbon is not very consistent. Ike b'char, ike meiser, that they are chal on a balmum. Okay, fine, done with that sugya, new sugya. Ularav Sheishes, we're getting to the easy stuff on Amud Beis. But this is all, it's all Gashmius. Ularav Sheishes. So what do we say? It's either the par or the ayil. Ask the Gemara, Ularav Sheishes ad mokim lo be'eloi shel aroin. Why? Here, if I ask you, think about it. I thought about it this morning. I didn't. What animal is kavua's man? It has a very, very specific date, a carbon. It has a very specific date. And you can make tmura and it pushes off Shabbos. Think about it, the easiest one in the world. Korban Pesach. What happened to that one? Why are we going over here? Par, Kohain Gadol. Ask the Gemara. It fits all these three things right here. The doiches Shabbos, besatuma, voiset tmura, the korban yochedu. Says the Gemara, Korban Pesach is no good according to Rav Sheishes, because Savar in Shoichlin HaPesach ala Yachid. Beautiful. Korban Pesach needs at least two people. And if it needs at least two people, what is that called in English? A partnership. And if it's a partnership, we learned yesterday, you can't do Tmura on a partnership. Just like you can't do partnership, you can't do Tmura on a tzibur, you can't do partnership. So in Mela, there's no Tmura. If there's no Tmura, it doesn't have the three. It has two out of the three, no good. Well, the second Pesach, you could do with the individual. You don't need to. We don't know if Pesach Sheni, it's a machlokes. Pesach Sheni pushes off Tumah or not, as we're going to see in a second. And Mamela, I wanted to be consistent. I wanted to say something that, according to everybody, pushes off the ayil of the Kohain Gadol, pushes off Tumah, according to everybody. Pushes off Shabbos, pushes off Tumah. Korban Pesach Sheni pushes off Shabbos. But the machlokes, if it pushes off Tumah, as we'll see. Oh, they were going to be Rishol Rava. Vitano, Maishna Pesach, the Korban Yachid, Maishna Chagiga, the Korban Tzibur. We were wondering this yesterday. What's going on? In the list of Rameir, he brings a Korban Pesach that's considered a Korban Yachid. Okay, makes sense. I bought it. It's my little carbon for me and my family, my friends. Carbon chagiga is considered a carbon tzibur. Who brings the carbon chagiga? Me and my family, and you and your family. So what's the difference? You'll say, because there's millions of people that bring these karbanos. So, a million people bring a carbon pesach. Says the Gemara, you're right. But carbon pesach is different. Pesach sheni can be one person of all Klal Yisrael. And Memela, in the category of carbon pesach, it's considered a carbon yachid. When Klal Yisrael brings it on Yudalad Nisan, that's a carbon tzibur, because all of Klal Yisrael is bringing it. Very interesting. You would think carbon tzibur means one carbon for the entire tzibur. Over here, we learn a new thing. Carbon tzibur means a million karbanos for a million people is called a carbon tzibur. But since Pesach Sheni could also be one carbon for one person, so it's in the category of carbon pesach we find the carbon yachid, and therefore it's called a carbon yachid and not a carbon tzibur. So I'm learning from Pesach Sheni. You tell me, why is carbon Pesach carbon yachid? Rameir says, carbon Pesach is a carbon yachid, and therefore it doesn't push off. It pushes off Tum and Shabbos. So if I'm only learning from Pesach Sheni, it's only because of Pesach Sheni. So it should push off Tumah. Says the Gemara Malay in Kimanda Omar Dachi. It does push off. We had a machlokes whether or not it pushes off. That's the machlokes we brought before. And Yehuda, so this whole thing goes. In other words, Meir is talking in Rabbi Yehuda. He doesn't hold himself. He says, "You Rabbi Yehuda, the hold so it's going to come out XYZ that we said yesterday." My time at the Tanakama. So this is a sugya that we had in Psachim, we're familiar with. What happened? If you are Tomei on Yudal Nisan, you don't bring a carbon. You wait for a month, and you bring it on Pesach Sheni. Says Tanakama, does it make any sense that if you're Tomei on Pesach Sheni, you should bring it then? I pushed you off from the first one. Why should I allow you to do it on the second one? If you're Tumah is no good. Tumah equals, don't bring it. Tumah means, wait a month. So I waited a month, now Mashlam Mazla became Tomei again. You're going to bring it today? Why is today different than a month ago? That's Tanakama. But Rabbi Yehuda says no. Rabbi Yehuda, you must do it. So what happened? The Torah gave you a chance. The Torah says, I don't like when you're Tomei. Wait a month. But your Shlamazi became Tomei again. So bring it B'tumah. I gave you a one-time chance. You have one way out of it. You didn't go with it. You didn't make it work. Okay, bring it anyways, because it says in the pasuk, you must do it. You weren't zeicha to it. Do it when you're Tomei. Returning to Daf Amud Beis, 50 daf into Masechtas Yoma. Lili Nishmas, Uri Ben Mattisyahu, the Ron Kormlut's father, Olav Shalom, and for the success in the Gashmius and especially ruchnius of his grandchildren. There's still one sponsorship available. But typically, no hints. Hilla, come over here. Get over here. Hilla wants to say something to his friends in California. Come. No, it's not going to cost you. Seriously. Get over here. Hilla, come here. Get over here. Hilla, say hello to your friends in California. No, get over here. Hillel wants that the Olam should daven for his friends in California, that they should have the clarity to see if they could make that move to Eretz Yisrael. I don't know what their situation is, but I always tell people that ask me, this is what I tell you. You have to be very practical. You can't just jump into moving to Eretz Yisrael if you don't have Parnasa. That's my number one thing, because I see so many people that fail because of Parnasa. It's a great thing to move to Eretz Yisrael. Make sure it can work. But typically, don't worry about the schools. They come out perfect. Yes, schools. We don't know how messed up they would be if they stayed in America. We have no. Oh, look, he came to Eretz Yisrael. This kids got messed up. No, they would have been in. Not me. You know how many people come in Ramat Shemesh? I don't know the statistics. The statistics are not so good in Ramat Bet Shemesh. Move to Har Nof. Over there, the statistics are worse. Okay. What? You got to be practical. You can't. What?
Mendy says 9.
Mendy Auerbach Paskin. Mendy Auerbach, by the way, is in charge of the Beis Hamikdash, the third one of all the technical stuff in the Beis Hamikdash. He says 9 and under also. He has another job too. V'tei begli, that's what they say. V'tei begli dasher, or 9 and older, or 19 and older. 9. Okay, there's a certain age that you could, yeah. The who? What did he say?
He said there are amazing schools in the neighborhood.
Yes.
True. 9 and under.
V'tei begli, that was Levi Friedman. V'tei begli, what's the name of your school again? Darchi Noam, way to go! It's amazing. It's an American-style school. But by the way, I think in Ramat Bet Shemesh is about 20 boys' schools. Just in Ramat Bet Shemesh, 20 boys' schools. No, and they're very, very good ones also. The Asher Loi Omer Achmona, Mishaloyu maybe. Okay, so Rabbi Elazar had a Shiloh yesterday. We had the Shiloh. This cow, this bull of the Kohen Gadol, could it become a Tmura? Who buys it? Kohen Gadol. Mr. Kohen Gadol himself buys it with his own private money. Do we consider it a private animal, and a private animal does become Tmura? You could say, I want to make an upgrade, and the second animal becomes Tmura, which is awesome. Or since it's a communal animal, because it gives a kapara to the Kohanim, you cannot do Tmura. As the Gemara, what's the Shaila B'chal? Look at the Pasuk. Wow, this is kind of, now I'm looking at it, it's kind of small, because there's a lot of words here. But look at this. In Pasuk Vav, it says, Vikir V'Aaron is parachaz asher loy. It should be his. I don't know if the Torah is trying to hint something here, because look, Pasuk Yud Aleph. Vikir V'Aaron is parachaz asher loy. Once again, it has to be his. Vikir V'Aaron is parachaz asher loy. 3 times, the same exact words. How many times does the Torah have to say that we get the hint? It has to be the Kohen Gadol's and nobody else's. And the Gemara goes on to explain. The first one is to say, it should not be from the communal funds. Okay? Okay, so not from Klal Yisrael, but maybe his brethren, the other Kohanim, that the carbon is actually working for them. Makes sense, they should pay a little bit. Be mishtatef, you're getting a kapara. Again. Maybe the Torah is giving you a great advice. You shouldn't. But the Evid, if you went ahead and you bought and you used their money, the Kohanim's money, maybe it's kosher. Tamaloymar, Shuv, Asher Loi, Shana Kosav Olav La'akiv. The Torah, again, Shuv, one more time, a third time. Because when it comes to Kachim, when the Torah says something twice, it means it's very specific, it's Ma'akiv. There's no way out of it. It's exactly so. Okay, so then the question is, why did Rebbe Elazar have a big problem? He's looking at this carbon and trying to figure out, is this carbon an individual's carbon or a communal carbon? It's individual carbon. The Torah says it has to be his funds. It says 3 times. Says the Gemara, not a great raya. How in the world is this carbon achieving a kapara for the Kohanim? They have nothing in it. The treasure of Aaron, the Beis Ha'itzer of Aaron, the Torah, yes, he bought it, and the Torah steals it from him. The Torah takes it away. It's mafkir it, and gives a little piece to each Kohen in the world, and through that little piece, they achieve a kapara. That was Rebbe Elazar's question. Could I take this carbon and make it Tmura? Because at the end of the day, every Kohen in the world has a tiny little piece that the Torah took away from the Kohen Gadol and gave to all the Kohanim. So now it's a communal carbon, or maybe not. Maybe it's like it's a floating kapara above the carbon, like we explained yesterday. It's not that they have a piece; they have a kapara through it, but they don't own it. They can't have a tviyah. Oh, it's my carbon. Pay me 25 cents. You just stole my carbon. It's not theirs. Maybe yeah. Brand new Mishnah. Here we go. Promise you, smooth sailing here. Who said don't promise? Dovid. I know. You sent me a message today and you erased it before I had a chance to look at it. Shkoyach. Come here. Oh, Judah, come here. Judah, get over here. Judah David. Here's the man who wears the jacket in the hottest day of the year. 110 degrees. It's unbelievable, Chassid. Beautiful.
The Fonz wears the leather jacket.
That's what he's talking about. All right, Zokta Mishnah, sponsored. This is the official Mishnah, sponsored by an official in honor of the MDY team. What? Oh, it's not by official. Sorry. The official Mishnah. You don't tell me these things. I don't know. The official Mishnah sponsored in honor of the MDY team. I didn't know that. I thought it wasn't. Here we go. Rabbi Sai, here's your Beis Hamikdash. Oh, I don't know if it's here. Oh, here it is. Right over here you have the Ulam. That's the entrance into the Heichal. All this is the Heichal. And in the Heichal we have Mizbech HaKtoros. You can't see it now. The Shulchan on this side, which is the northern side, and the menorah on the southern side. Mizbeach, we said, is smack in the middle, but pulled down a little bit. And then you have the Kodesh HaKadoshim. If you look really closely, even at this picture, there are two curtains that are creating the wall here, and this is in Bayis Sheni. Gary, are you able? Thank you. Are you able to zoom in on this paroiches? Let's see. Now, if he had a mouse, a joystick, it would be much better. He's waiting for something. Here we go. You see the two lines here? Right over here. These two lines, that's the two paroiches. And if you even look closer, there's an entrance on the southern side, and the Kohain has to walk this way, and then there's an entrance on the northern side. You see how it's... Do I have my stick here? Yeah, curtains that create a separation. Here, this is the entrance. He walks right over here, and then he goes up this way. Okay, fine. Says the Mishnah. He's walking right through the Heichal, and we're going to see in the Gemara Machlokes, where in the Heichal does he walk? On the right side of the Heichal or on the left side? Between the two paroiches, there's a full amma, approximately 2 feet of ear space, so you can walk between them. It's not true. And this, Shlomi Klein is going to ask the question, and many are going to. We're talking about a Mishnah that was written not so long after the Churban Abayis. What? They didn't hear from Rebbe Akiva, who was there, how many paroiches in there were. Okay. It says, Shenemar, it doesn't say paroichos, ha-paroiches, meaning singular. There was one paroiches, lachem, ben ha-kodesh, ubein, kodesh ha-kodoshim. Says the Gemara, Shapik Hamalu Reb Yosel Rabbanon. He has a great raya from the pasuk that it was only one. Rabbanon Amrilach. Yeah, we know about the pasuk. Hanimili b'Mishkan. In the Mishkan, there was one. The Torah is talking about the Mishkan. Aval b'Mikdash Sheni. So there's a difference between the Mishkan, the first bayis, and the second bayis. The second Beis Hamikdash, Kivin delay have amotraxin. In the first Beis Hamikdash, there was a wall, a full wall, a real wall that was a amma thick, 2 feet wide. And so, how did you get into the Kodesh HaKadoshim? There was a small entrance made out of cloth, a paroiches, sort of, that the Kohen would go through. But the actual wall was a thick 1 amma wall. Ubemikdash Rishon Hudahave. That's only in the first Beis Hamikdash. V'istakulu Rabbanon b'gdushase ikilafnim ikilachutz. Explains Rashi. In the second Beis Hamikdash, this amazing structure was 100 amma tall, says Rashi. Says the Taisis Yantif, we have to be goyers in Rashi 40 amma. Well, the actual structure was 100, but the first floor was only 40 amma. They couldn't possibly build a 80-foot wall that's only 2 feet wide. It would fall down. It needed to be extremely wide. in order to build the 80-foot wall. So Mamela, they had to make it out of cloth. So now that they made it out of cloth, they had a suffix, where do I put the cloth? The cloth is much thinner. It's a curtain. So do I put it on what side of the two Amud do I put it? The one closer to the Kodesh HaKodashim or the side closer to the Heichal? What do? I don't know what to do. So I make two. One on the side of the Kodesh HaKodashim, one on the side of the Heichal, and the Amma is in between. Mela, I made two baroiches. Rashi just goes in to say, brings this pasuk of Eli Hiskil, that it has to be exactly like HaKadosh Baruch Hu said. And I saw interesting shaila the Beis Shlomo asked. They asked him in Europe. Where was it? In Zolotchik. You ever heard of Zolotchik? Never. Zolotchik. They were expanding the Ezras Nashim. And in order to do so, they built a second story, a second Ezras Nashim, but they needed to put in beams. And if they put in beams, it will take off some of the men's section where people daven. Are you allowed to take off davening area in order to build Ezras Nashim? That's what they asked him. And he said, yeah. Because you see from this Rashi that the only problem is because of Eli Hiskel. There's a special halach in a Beis HaMikdash you can't steal room. But in a shul you could. Okay, Tana Rabbana. What? Rabbi Yossi, you mean? What about Rabbi Yossi? Oh, okay, so exactly right. So obviously, yeah, he did know. Yeah. Tana Rabbana. Okay, now. Right. So first of all, here's a picture of the paroiches folded back. Very nice. Rashi says that the fold had, like you see in halls sometimes, you take a curtain and you pull it back and you have like something that holds it. So Rashi says they had that in the Beis HaMikdash. It was made out of gold. It held the paroiches open. Now, if there's two paroiches in, so you can't see into the Kodesh HaKodashim. But according to Rabbi Yossi, very interesting. You could see into the Kodesh HaKodashim. If you're standing in the Heichal, the paroiches is open on the other side, pulled back, and you can see in. Now, how exactly did this Kohain walk when he was coming into the Heichal? Did he go to the right side, to the north, or did he go to the south and go like this in the Kodesh HaKodashim? So I have a three-way machlokes here. Yeah, it's pulled back. Yeah. It's a little bit, yeah. Says the Gemara Tana Rabbanan. Bein HaMizbeach LaMenorah. So, here's the menorah. Yeah, I'm just trying to think if I'm backside forwards here. Here's the shulchan on the northern side. Here's the menorah on the southern side. I'm trying to think. And here's the mizbeach. Okay, Gary's not paying attention. Fine. What's he doing? Okay, here's the picture. Forget that. Here's the picture. I wanted to do. Here's the mizbeach. Here's the menorah. Here's the shulchan. Says the Gemara, according to the Shita, he took a left, he cut to the left. He was on the left side of the Heichal. And he positioned himself that he's between the Mizbech and the Menorah, and here's the curtain, it's open, he goes in there. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir Oimer, Ben Shulchan, the Mizbeach, the exact opposite of the room. He went this way. He cut to the right. And you see the curtain is open on the right side. So he went to the right. And some people say he went really to the right. He didn't cut over here. He went all the way. He hugged the wall. Who's this shita? It's Rabbi Yossi. According to Rabbi Yossi, so think about it. Rabbi Yossi says there's only one curtain. Now, according to everybody, we have to understand one very simple thing. According to everybody, the actual opening into the Kodesh HaKodashim was on the northern side. Everybody agrees to that. So I don't know if you could see. Okay, fine. Gary? According to everybody, this is where you come in. But if there's a second curtain, so you go to the south, you make your way down, but eventually you're on the northern side. According to Rabbi Yossi, there's only one curtain. The opening's on the north. So you might as well be on the north. So then what's the shaila? So why are you hugging the wall, or could you position yourself a little bit left to the wall and go by the shulchan. So what's the shaila over here? Yehuda says no. The opening was on the south, so he has to go next to the menorah. Reb Meir, who says he goes between the shulchan, which is on the north, but it's not hugging the wall. What's going on here? If the opening is on the left side, let him go by the menorah. Let him hug the wall. He holds that the opening is on the right side, on the northern side. Think about it, like here in this room, in MDY, the walls are hugging, the tables are hugging the wall. They're pushed up against the wall. You can't walk between the table and the wall. There's no room to walk. Same thing in the Beis HaMikdash. Shlomo HaMelech made 10 extra tables. There's the shulchan that Moshe Rabbeinu made. Shlomo HaMelech made 10. This is machlokes how they're positioned. If they're positioned north to west, and each one is 2 amma, so you make 2 rows of 5. 2 times 5 equals, Leiby's about to say something.
North to west.
Oh, north to south, sorry. North, that's why he's laughing. Okay. Yeah, Panovich. North to west. So, north to south, this way. And there's 5 tables, each one is 2 amma, 5 times 2 is 11. Panovich. So, it takes up the whole 10 amma here. You can't get in. And it cannot even be 1 inch to the south. You can't have a table over the center line. So man, there's absolutely no room for him to walk. How does he walk? He walks this way. Now, the problem, how does he walk? So I have another picture from the eyes of others. It's not as clear, and I drew a red line just so you could see. He could walk. Because the Mizbeach is pulled forward. So he could sneak in between the Mizbeach and then go that way. Okay. That's if the Shulchan is, did I not print the other one? Okay. There's one sheet that the Shulchan is this way. Do I have another picture? So I don't come home and say, Chaval, I didn't show that one. I don't see it. Okay, maybe it wasn't printed. So, you can't walk. The tables were in the opposite direction. They were facing this way. So you could walk by the tables. But because of the Shechina, it's not nice to walk directly towards the door, towards Kodesh Kodashim, and then you could pick up your eyes by mistake and see the Shechina. You don't walk like that. You walk from the side. You walk in and then you come. Where's that picture? So this would be the way. Instead of walking directly to open door and looking into the Kodesh Kodashim, you come from the side and you sneak in. That's why it has to be between the Mizbeach and the Shulchan. We'll do the next line tomorrow because we have beautiful stories. Have a wonderful day. Welcome back, Rabbi Schomburg. By the way, it shouldn't have any. It wasn't a push. It was stamp. Mazel tov. Really? So you became famous. You see, you're a celebrity in England. Baruch Hatzlacha. If you come early, if you come back early, you're better. Shkoyach. Thank you. You should have Hatzlacha in America. Enjoy the 8 o'clock. Welcome back, Rabbi.